important for that. What is the name of the cell that actually secretes the antibodies? What? Plasma cells. I didn't know if you remembered that detail, but once a B cell is activated, I don't know who thought of this, but they don't call it a B cell anymore. Now they changed the name to a plasma cell. And it's actually a plasma cell that secretes the antibodies. And so there's your three things from your T helper cells. Look at them when releasing all those cytokines. And then your role of your TC cells with perforins and granzymes or degradative enzymes. Okay. Now, the ways that antibodies help make us ready. We have 5 classes of antibodies. Once again, a list of 5. You know that there's going to be a question or two showing up on your exam. IgG, what do you want to remember about it? Most common, all-around workhorse, can pass through the placenta. IgA, secretions. IgM, first one secreted, so you can use it for determining is this a recurring infection or is it a first-time infection. IgE, yes, it's about parasites, but when we think about modern life, which is going to get more, do we really have a lot of parasites in our bodies here in the U.S.?
No.
Do we have a lot of allergies?
Yes.
Yes. So IgE is going to insert into the plasma membrane of mast cells and cause them to degranulate. What does that word mean when the book says they degranulate? They release their histamine and other inflammatory mediators, making you weepy all over. And then IgD, do you remember? It's inserted into the plasma membrane of B cell itself, and that's how we activate B cells, is by activating one of these. What does the Ig stand for? Immunoglobulin. So don't forget to understand the term itself. Immunoglobulin is just the big word for antibody. We're used to just calling them antibodies. All right. Now, this is how they are going to get rid of pathogens. So none of these are going to kill the pathogen directly, but they're going to mark it for destruction, right? So we have agglutination and precipitation. What do you want to remember agglutination for? Clumping. When did we do this? This is how we did our blood typing. So agglutination is clumping of the pathogens or toxins together in a mass. And so you're just holding them in a corral, waiting for a phagocyte to come along. What does it mean when they say precipitation? What's the difference between agglutination and precipitation? So if I had a mixture in a glass, and while the liquid is moving, that solid stayed suspended, but then I stop moving the liquid and it settles out to the bottom, that's precipitation. So what this is saying is that I group enough crud together into one lump that it's going to fall out of suspension in the blood. And then a phagocyte will come along and clean it up. That's precipitate. What is something you can think of that you can relate to that you've seen precipitate out of a liquid mixture before? I know if you take whole blood and just leave it sit, the red blood cells and white blood cells will settle to the bottom, but I don't know that everybody's had the opportunity to see that before. I haven't. I just know it happens. Yeah.
Even before you spin it, though, it starts to settle.
So you get to see that.
You get the clot at the bottom, and then you get the liquidy portion.
So that clot would precipitate out. Yeah, so if you've ever seen that. I remember doing chemical reactions where you're having that chemical reaction creating these, I don't know, nutrients or whatever, minerals, and then they would get big enough and heavy enough that they would settle out of precipitation.
Wouldn't that be like curdled milk?
I
like-
haven't
like
seen
cottage
curdled
cheese?
milk in so long.
Milk actually floats.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like they good.
Yeah,
Maybe.
let that one go. All right, opsonization. Once again, what is opsonization? Making it tasty. So we're putting handles on the pathogen, making it easier for the phagocyte to catch. Neutralization, same as complement proteins. We change the shape. Once we change the shape, it cannot bind to a receptor anymore. What else can they do? They work with complement proteins, hence the name complement, and they're going to work to membrane attack complex. So we're going to put holes, perforate the side of a bacteria, and then it's going to undergo lysis after that, and then stimulation of inflammation. So antibodies and complement proteins can enhance inflammation, both of them, just by simply sticking to the membrane of mast cells or basophils. There is a lot of overlap. If you look at that, I never really noticed that as much as today. It's like thinking about complement and antibodies, they've got a lot of the same functions there. You know, opsonization, enhancing inflammation, neutralization, those are like ditto, ditto, ditto. Yeah, it's not as hard as I thought it was. Okay, so why do I have such a long delay with my primary immune response compared to my secondary?
Because it's the first time.
Because I have memory cells. So the purpose of a memory cell is to, if you ever get infected with the same pathogen the second time. And that is the basis for what practice that we use in our healthcare currently. That's the purpose of vaccinations, is to produce those memory cells. Okay, so do you remember the response of your plasma cells or B cells? So you have what they call passive and active humoral immunity. What is the difference between active and passive humoral or antibody-mediated immunity? Passive
It's given to us like that.
is given to you. You do not make the antibodies yourself, therefore you will not come out of it with memory cells. Active antibody immunity is when you make the antibody yourself. What is the natural way of developing active immunity? Getting sick, fighting it off, and having memory cells as a result of that. What is the artificial way of having active antibody immunity? Getting a vaccine. Because anytime you hear that word artificial, it involves a needle. And vaccinations involve the needle. Natural passive antibody immunity is given to you by mother to fetus, either through the placenta or breast milk. Artificial passive immunity is when you receive a shot of antibodies because you don't have enough time for your body to develop natural immunity. If you get bit by a rattlesnake or a cottonmouth, do you have enough time for your body to ramp up a primary immune response to that venom? No, you want to neutralize that venom as quickly as possible with antibodies, and there's a perfect example of neutralization. All right. And so we led right into that. So that's a pretty important concept right there. And we've talked about that before. All right, and then we get into our disorders. So, first of all, you have to be able to recognize the terms here. So, hypersensitivity disorder. Basically, what is a hypersensitivity disorder? I'm not going to agree with that. I don't think that that is a way to look at it. An exacerbation. So it is your body making a screw up. It's recognizing something that is absolutely harmless as something that's harmful. So your body is just making plain a mistake, and it's responding to this chemical as if it is something dangerous to your body because it has a shape similar to something that it remembered being dangerous, but it really isn't dangerous to you. So your body's screwing up. That's what allergies are. Because when you think about it, pollen. Is there anything dangerous about pollen?
No.
Is there really anything dangerous about eating shrimp or other shellfish? No. Is there dangerous about some people's freaking response to shellfish?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So that's a hypersensitivity disorder. Your body is overreacting to something that's harmless. And immunodeficiency, just look in the word. What's happening to your immune system? It's not developing properly. It's just laying there like it's not working at all. And then autoimmune is the opposite. My body is going to attack itself by being overly aggressive. So, examples of these: mild, moderate, and dramatic hypersensitivity. So, I wake up basically every morning with a little bit of nose drip, and it goes away by mid-morning. Where does that fall in this category? Mild. Who has a moderate reaction in here to something? What's your example? Anybody have any moderate allergy reactions?
My throat used to swell shut with shrimp, but it doesn't anymore.
You grew out of it, or did you get the shots to help sensitize?
No, I just grew out of it. Honestly, I used to work at Captain D's when I was 16, and I ate a little tiny shrimp every day. Because I really
Well,
like shrimp.
Yeah,
You
that
see,
is.
overexposure can help to
Your
grow
body
out of
finally
it.
decides, okay, I guess it's not dangerous.
I also grew up on the East Coast, where it's a lot fresher, and that's where I had my reaction.
You saying that we don't have fresh seafood around here?
Just saying.
Just
But
saying.
I've never had a reaction in Missouri, so
Huh.
yeah.
Welcome to the Midwest. All right, and then dramatic reaction, it's anaphylactic shock because what's happening?
You're dying.
Systemic vasodilatation.
Systemic release of histamine, which causes all of the arterioles to vasodilate and all of the capillaries to get leaky. So, anaphylactic shock due to hypersensitivity that's off the chart is very similar to sepsis going on inside the body. They are walking down that same road, and they're both super, super, super dangerous. And now you guys know how to fix that. You're going to get a shot of epinephrine, which will cause the blood vessels to vasoconstrict. All right, then we have your immune system not developing. If it is at birth, it could be SCID. Okay, what's going on with SCID? Bone marrow does not have the pluripotent stem cells to make the rest of the white blood cells. So they basically grow up without the proper white blood cells in their body. And what's the only way to fix SCID? Bone marrow transplant. And then if it develops during adulthood, one example of an immunodeficiency is AIDS, because what is the target of the HIV virus? Helper T cells. It goes inside, it gets invited into the helper T cells, and what eventually happens to the helper T cells after it makes millions of copies? They die. And then you don't have your helper T cell to coordinate your immune response, and you got another million HIV virus particles in your body to infect all the rest of the body's cells. And then autoimmune disorders, multiple sclerosis, that's when you demyelinate your myelinated neurons, and that can be either sensory or motor dysfunction. Rheumatic fever, if you had rheumatic fever, it can affect your heart muscle, valves and stuff in your heart. Type 1 diabetes mellitus, what gets destroyed in your pancreas? Beta cells that make the insulin, so you do not have the ability to make insulin anymore. And then rheumatoid arthritis attacks the your membrane of the synovial joint and creates some real painful issues there. Anybody in here have rheumatoid arthritis? Do you?
I don't know if it's become rheumatoid arthritis as I'm an adult now, but I was diagnosed with juvenile idiopathic arthritis, just
So idiopathic, they didn't know, but it's like if you have it as a kid, you know it's got to be your own body causing it.
Yeah.
And has it gotten better or worse?
worse.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. It caused a herniated or a bulging disc in my back.
Oh, well, that's interesting because I have the arthritis too, but mine is just wear and tear arthritis, osteoarthritis, but we have the same freaking issues. I've got 5 bulging discs in my lumbar area.
I'm still one.
Yeah, it was like happy Merry freaking damn Christmas. Now that I know I've got 5 of them, it's like son of a bitch. got old man back. So if I ever go down, you're kissing my ass goodbye because there ain't no reviving me. It's like at this point, there's no damage done to this body that it ain't getting fixed. And I'm not going to a nursing home.